Welcome back to the Browns Beat podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tristan, and I'm here with my man, Derek. And Derek, we have quite the game to talk about here. The Browns beat the 49ers 19-17. Derek, initial reaction. Give me your thoughts. How are you feeling?
Man, it was great watching Deshaun Watson sling the ball out there, wasn't it? Oh wait, am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. No, it wasn't Deshaun Watson, but DTR had a. Oh no, that doesn't sound right either. No, PJ Walker, man, what a game! And it wasn't even that he was great. We'll get into it, but just what seemed like it had zero chance and was just flat out impossible. Almost too good to be true. And here we are. Your Cleveland Browns come out after a bye week. Injury to Nick Chubb, injury to Deshaun Watson, injury to Batonio, and all these guys. And, it seemed impossible even fully healthy. And here we are. We're sitting here tonight on Sunday night, and the Browns get it done. And how they got it done too. And we'll get into it, Tristan, but I'm just still kind of speechless. I mean, I know it's not a good thing being that we're here about to talk about it, but I'm still like, I just can't believe we were on this side of it, versus we're always on the other side. And I thought it was going to happen again. And I was just waiting for it to happen. And it didn't. The kick went wide right. And the Cleveland Browns beat the team that looked like they were going to walk to the Super Bowl. Unreal. Just flat out unreal. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. And, for me, like when I look at this game, I'm with you. I thought that, when PJ Walker threw that interception and they had that walk-in touchdown play after, I was like, we let it go again. We had it, we let it go. Damn. And
You need the doll.
I just remember
Bring
sitting
the doll
there.
back.
right. I should. I think I have it, but yeah, it's just like I thought we were out of it. I'll be honest, because how many times do you have to see a movie over and over again before you realize you're going to see the same scene,
Mm-hmm.
right? But this was different, and it's so refreshing because this team had every reason to come into this game and completely collapse, completely fall over. The last game against Baltimore, we'll talk about it later, but just nothing went right. Nothing. And it was one of those where it's just like this team had every reason to just kind of walk into here and give up, but they didn't. And, that's the minimum of what we expect. But in reality, what we got the knowledge that this team can be special. They can, because I don't even think our defense, like not every player on our defense had their best game, but yet as a unit, we still held the 49ers to 17 points. And the offense, with many, many injuries to key positions, to key players, found a way to get it done. And what have I been saying? What have you been saying? We've got to find a way, because we always find ourselves in these close games. We talked about it with Pittsburgh. We always find ourselves in these close games, and Pittsburgh always would find a way to win. No matter how ugly it was, they found a way. And that's what we did today. And it was refreshing, because I don't remember seeing the Cleveland Browns win like that. Coming down from 10 points against a 5-0 undefeated 49ers team that many of the NFL was ready to crown as champions and, start sending out their Super Bowl tickets, right? And this Cleveland Browns team said no.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this defense in particular said no. Like, we are that good. We are that we can get this done without the the best of our players on the field. That was such an inspiring win. And if we can build off of this, man, we might be in for a really, really special
Mhm.
season. And it's so crazy
Yeah.
saying that
Yeah. Oh.
just a couple of weeks
Oh.
after so much disappointment. And, it feels like since the start of the year, we've been high, then we've been low, then we've been high, then we've been low. And now we're high again. The question is, can we stay there?
Would
Uh,
love to be.
but before we, right?
Sorry.
But before we kind of before we kind of just talk about the future, we got to talk more about
Mhm.
this game. Derek, on the offensive side of the ball, what did you see? What did you see on the offensive side of the ball?
I thought Kevin Stefanski, he was under a lot of criticism throughout the course of this bye week, and deserved. I don't want to give any excuses for Stefanski because, man, we have seen, even with Deshaun Watson, we haven't seen that great of just an offensive performance as far as what we could do versus what we did do. And in this game, again, with a third string quarterback, I thought the play calling was much, much, much improved. I thought you were getting guys involved who haven't been involved. David Njoku, in particular, had a hell of a game, and especially coming off. I assume y'all have seen the pictures. I really don't want to edit them into this video because they're not pretty to look at. But man, his burn, ooh! And if you've had a burn, you know how that is. Now imagine with a helmet and with gloves and in a physical sport. Man, I will never question David Njoku's toughness ever, ever. And to see him get involved was great. I thought the offensive line, I was very worried, against this 49ers front. This is the best two defensive lines in the NFL. I think that's pretty easily said. We'll talk about it a little bit, obviously, the defense, but I thought the offensive line did a pretty good job for the most part. PJ Walker, uh, he had enough time. Was it all every snap? No, but he had time to make plays. Um, and again, back to the play calling, I think that was a huge part of it. And Kareem Hunt, man, shout out to Kareem Hunt having a touchdown in this game. Jerome Ford had himself a good game. He had 17 carries, 84 yards. Hunt had 12 carries, 47 yards. But for me, I think it's just we're getting back offensively, we're getting back to that chunt mindset of rotating, getting one guy in, one guy out, one guy in, one guy out. And I think offensively for the Browns, if we want to be successful throughout the rest of the season, what you got to do, you got to rotate, you got to find ways to continue to move this ball and keep guys fresh. Um, Last thing I'll say real fast on the offense, um, Amari Cooper is still one of the best receivers in the NFL, and he does not get nearly enough respect that he deserves because boy, oh boy, Amari Cooper is that dude. And the plays that he was making today, these were not gimme easy, wide open catches. He was going up and saying, I'm better than you. I'm catching this ball, and it doesn't matter. I mean, he did that on a consistent basis. And again, it wasn't, and I'm not hating on PJ Walker. I'm not, but it wasn't as if every ball was perfect and it was an easy catch. He had to earn every single catch that he made. And I said that in the Steelers game, and it sucked because we lost to the Steelers. It wasn't like this game where you can look back and be like, oh, hey, we won. In this game, you can kind of look at it from a different perspective. And I think from, and not just from the Browns fan base perspective, from the NFL perspective, Amari Cooper deserves so much more attention and so much more respect than he is given because he is absolutely still that dude, and he's still a number one receiver by far. I mean, there's nobody on this Browns roster that's close to him, receiver wise. So, offense, it was an interesting day for sure, and especially against that 49ers defense. I did not think we were going to move the ball as well as we did on the 49ers defense. What did you think, Tristan?
Yeah, I couldn't have agreed with what you said. More with what
I
you
was going
said.
to say.
For me, right. But no, for me, there's a few areas where I definitely want to highlight, and first things first, let's give credit where credit's due. Outside of one play, Jedrick Wills today was great. Like, he really was. I mean, he had been having a terrible season. And trust me, we've told you he's been having a terrible season. And this doesn't change any of the past that we've said. We still stand by what we've said, that he wasn't good enough and he was a liability. However, today, outside of one play, he was great. He didn't get absolutely smoked, right? He held his ground against a really good defensive line for the 49ers without his Hall of Fame left guard next to him. I mean, that is what we're talking about. It was an impressive performance from Jed today, in my opinion.
But that one play,
I think he stepped up. That one play was brutal. Yes, absolutely. But I want to highlight around that because outside of that one play, he played pretty damn well today. The other part, you already mentioned Amari Cooper. I could add more on top of that, but I think you said it well enough. But let me point out another player, Kareem Hunt. I thought that this was Kareem Hunt's best game for Cleveland since even before last year, like the year before, because last year I didn't really think he was that influential. I thought he had a couple of good games, but this was legitimately like he was a difference maker today. He moved the margin in our favor, right? He was a true difference maker today, and I thought he was really good. Jerome Ford, it's weird with him for me, because he has plays that make you think, wow, like this guy's a legit running back. Like when he gets to the boundary, like man, he's a special runner. But then there's times where you say to yourself, like, man, you should be seeing that. You should be like doing better. So for me, he's a guy that I think he has the potential to develop into a true like guy that we can have in like a rotation of running backs. But for me, I got to see a little bit more to be comfortable with it. And then I want to bring up Kevin Stefanski. I mean, Kevin Stefanski, like you said, he'd been getting criticized. And even myself, I've been critical of him. And I've been starting to think like, man, maybe Kevin's starting to lose his team because it doesn't, before coming into this game, it was like this offense hasn't really been rallying. It seems like the defense was starting in that Baltimore game. Like they kind of, were tired of the turnovers and just kind of gave up for a quarter. Like that's at least how I kind of felt like, man, it could get away from him really quick. And this performance today, his play calling today remember, it's the second best defense in the NFL, and he's got a guy that he just got off the practice squad to put up 19 points on them. Outstanding coaching. The fact that he did something I thought he was incapable of doing. He outcoached Kyle Shanahan. Like, let that sink in. like I get like, and we'll get into this defense, and this defense is unbelievable, and it's 100% the best defense in the NFL. But we still played against the second best defense in the NFL, and we still got 19 points, and we didn't have our starter at quarterback, and we didn't have our starter at running back, and we didn't have our starter at left guard, and we didn't have our starter at right tackle. Like, there were a lot of things that went against us today, and we still found a way to get it done. David Njoku, you're absolutely right. We can never question that man's toughness ever again. I mean, for me, I can speak from personal experience. I used to work at a pizza shop, and there was one time I was going to grab a pizza out of the oven, and the tool that I used to grab the pan ended up getting caught in the oven. And so I had my hand touching like 500-degree metal for like about 3 to 4 seconds. And I remember just the boiling sensation I got with my skin. And I remember it was there for like a month. Like it didn't heal for like a month, and it was brutal. This man, like 24 hours before a football game, had worse happen to him, and he still laced him up against Baltimore. And then he comes back. He's expected to be out. He's expected to
Yeah.
be out, and he finds a way to get on that football field. And if it weren't for a couple of dumb penalties by our offensive line today, he would have had an even better
Mhm.
game statistically. And, for me, what a warrior. He is absolutely the style of player that we have been wanting in a Cleveland Browns uniform for so long. He is a guy that loves to block, loves to do all the small things, and is going to fight like hell to help us win. So for me, hats off to him. I will never, ever judge his toughness, ever. And I'm very grateful for him.
Yeah.
Um, I think we should talk about PJ Walker's performance today.
Before we do,
Oh yeah,
I
go
want
ahead,
to
go ahead.
talk about something you brought up. Before we get into that, I want to touch on Njoku since we just talked about, or since you just talked about it there. Also, I think, and I've said this multiple times, not recently, not anytime, recently, but man, David Njoku is the perfect example, and it's constantly talked about how tight ends moving from college into the NFL is a long transition. David Njoku is almost like your perfect prime example of improvement year after year after year. Because if you remember, David Njoku came in, could not block worth a shit. Could not block anybody, right? Couldn't block me, couldn't block you, right? I mean, it was not pretty. And I don't say that, to make fun of him. Look at where he was at then to where he's at now. There's been times where David Njoku has been matched up. I mean, I remember, I think it was the Bengals game. He was matched up one on one with buddy from the Bengals, Trey Hendrickson or Sam Hubbard, one of the two.
Hendrickson.
And
It was Hubbard.
Yeah,
But yeah, either
yeah.
way. Either
But
way. Yeah.
he's holding his own. So he went from not being able to block anybody to being able to be somewhat trusted. I'm not saying you want him matched up one on one, but if you need to, you feel comfortable with it. So just in the blocking, which in Kevin Stefanski's scheme is obviously huge, he has improved drastically. And then when you look at the receiving game, he was dropping balls left and right. I'm old enough to remember when people were saying trade him, get rid of him, get a 5th round pick if you can, like just do whatever you can. We can't rely on him. And now, and especially in this game, he was nothing but reliable. I mean, like you said, if Jedrick Will's dumbass was at 5 yards downfield, I believe it was the same play, right? David Njoku would have had probably a touchdown, or was that not that play?
No, so that was the big chunk play. The Wyatt Teller hold
Okay,
was the
yeah,
one that
yeah, yeah,
called back the
yeah,
touchdown. Yeah, so those were
yeah,
the two. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah.
yeah. He's incredible, and the fact that he's doing what he's doing, and this is only the beginning. I mean, there's so much that the Browns can do with David Njoku. And I really hope when Deshaun Watson comes back, and we'll get into that as well, I hope that Njoku's position in the offense that it's been right now and even last week, because as bad as Baltimore was, Njoku was like the only bright spot. I mean, he was been consistently good. I hope when Deshaun comes back, that remains. One other thing I wanted to mention before we, keep going on here. Um, Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford. Tristan, I kind of struggle to have this conversation with a lot of people. You're one I can have this conversation with. I think Kareem Hunt, personally, I think he should be a starting running back. And I think Jerome Ford should be the rotate in back. Because Hunt, even though he's not the same old Kareem Hunt, he, like you said, he's a difference maker. He's a chain mover. I don't think he's a guy you bring in on 3rd down and kind of rotate in. For me, I think that role is perfect for Jerome Ford because Jerome Ford has been damn good in the passing game, catching the ball out of the backfield. He's been great in that, but his vision is terrible. And he's almost like Barkley, and the fact that Saquon Barkley, you'll watch him, and obviously it's very different, but Saquon sometimes he'll take it right up the middle, and you'll see that lane open up, and he'll miss it, especially earlier on in his career. He'll just miss it, but then he'll make the play that leaves you just like, wow, he's just that good. That's kind of what I see with Jerome Ford here, and you just mentioned it. he's just his vision is not there, and that's not his fault. But the Browns, in my opinion, if you want to get the best out of this run game, I think it needs to start with Kareem Hunt and then have Jerome Ford be a piece to that puzzle for now. For now, I'm not saying forever, but I don't know. What do you think? Because I mean, Jerome Ford, 17 carries today, 84 yards. Kareem Hunt, 12 carries, 47 yards, and Kareem had a touchdown. It's just kind of it's a tough conversation, I feel like.
Yeah, it's very tough because it's like here's where I stand, right? When it comes to Kareem Hunt, I think what we got out of him is about the most we could get. That's what I feel. Like what we got out of him today was the best we could get. You could see towards the end of the game, he was kind of running out of gas. He was getting up slow. He definitely looked like he was feeling like taking the whole force of his shots. Right, you could tell it was taking a toll on him. So from that perspective, I think today was the max of like an example of the max that we can get out of Kareem Hunt. So with that being said, you got to figure it out for beside him. And I personally feel like we should give Pierre Strong some more reps. I told you I like how he runs the football. Um, and I think part of the hesitancy for not giving him the ball a whole lot to kind of start the year.
Sorry,
You got
Tyrod Taylor just got thumped. I saw it out of the
Oh,
corner of my
really?
eye. Yeah, he spun around and tried to like roll left out of a sack, and then I don't know who it was, but man, he just got thumped. Poor Tyrod Taylor's always
Jesus.
getting hit. He is always
Right?
taking hits.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
continue. I'm
Poor
sorry.
guy. Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah. No, no, you're fine. You're fine. Um, I think with Pierre Strong, I like who he is as a runner. And I think that, between him and Ford, they can figure it out. For me, I almost wonder if the reason why we aren't seeing more of Pierre Strong quite yet is because of the fact that we traded for him right before the season started. And I mean, really, he's only had 6 weeks to learn our playbook. Yet Jerome Ford's had like a year and a half, two
Hmm.
years. Like he's had a long time to learn this playbook. So I almost wonder from that sense if that's why we're holding him out. But for me at this point, I think that Pierre Strong should get a little bit more of the reps. I know that Kevin's gonna trust his guys, right? And I think Kevin trusts. I think Kevin trusts Jerome Ford to figure it out, and in some aspects, I trust him to figure it out because I think he's got a lot of potential. Um, but with that being said, I still think we got to explore what's there with Pierre Strong because in the minimal reps I've seen of him, I've liked what I've seen. When he touches that football, he's a downhill runner, um, and he could be a potential like diamond in the rough. We'll have to wait and see, but I like what I've seen so far from Pierre Strong. I want to see a bigger role for him, but you know, uh, Derek, what other like aspects of this offense did you want to talk about before we moved on to this defense?
Um, you mentioned it, PJ Walker. Weird. It was kind of weird because I think, we weren't able to do a podcast pre-gaming this. Um, you know, but 18 to 34 today, 192 yards and two interceptions, right? But for me, other than at the end there where, it was a little questionable, PJ Walker, this is the difference that you see between PJ Walker and a guy like DTR. DTR, much more talented. I think DTR is quicker, more athletic, maybe more of a special athlete. But PJ Walker, no scrub of his own as far as athleticism and moving around, but the experience and playing at an NFL level. I think that just goes to show you the difference between a kid coming out of college and a guy who's seen it. Because if DTR was starting today, I don't think we have this result. And that's nothing against him or his talent because he's a great player. And I think he will be a great player. But um, PJ Walker, he just got the job done. He took risks, but it wasn't, the two interceptions, it wasn't as if it was a end of the world type thing. He was calculated, and he just went through his reads and got the job done. I mean, for a guy coming off the practice squad, um, I thought it was very impressive. I mean, PJ Walker outperformed Brock Purdy, other than Purdy had one touchdown. So, you know, take that for what you will. I think it's interesting. And if, sorry, not to cut you off, but if Deshaun Watson is not able to come back and needs to miss a couple more games, you have to go with PJ Walker. You just have to. The defense is too good. The offense is good enough around him. If you have a guy like Walker who has the experience and could just get the job done like he did today, the Browns will win plenty of games. And we'll talk about the next upcoming schedule, but I thought PJ did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that PJ Walker, I think tomorrow it'll be announced he'll be signed to the 53. Just because I think that, he earned it. I believe he earned it. And not only that, but if it is true that Deshaun's not going to be able to go for the Colts, I think that you're absolutely right. We have to have him be the starter. Nothing against DTR. I think you're right. It's a new game, and the fact that we didn't game plan for him and he went out against Baltimore, who is known to, no matter who's on the field for them, get pressure. It was a tough situation for him, and it would have been a similar thing today. And you're right. We needed a guy like PJ in there, guy who's seen it and who can handle it. He damn near threw away the game at the end. My God,
Yeah.
dude, just slide. And there will be people that like criticize that play call. You know which one I'm talking about? The one that the
Mhm.
second down before we got that touchdown. I don't mind it, and the reason why I don't mind it is because we had Elijah Moore out that like kind of had like an out, if I'm not mistaken. And if it wasn't for a great read by their linebacker, there was no safety there. Elijah would have just walked right in. So, I don't hate that play call at all. I hate the execution. I think that what should have been communicated to PJ is, listen, you either throw it to him or you run as far as you can and you slide. And if that was the communication, do we really care? Because they burn the timeout,
Mhm.
we don't have like this oh my god moment where we almost lost the game. Like, I think all in all, I don't think that that's something that can be pinned on Kevin. I think that was on the quarterback. But again, hats off to PJ Walker, stepped up in a difficult situation, made it happen. That's the bottom line. We got it done, and he was the reason why we got it done against a really good defense. So, um, Derek, unless you have anything else to say, we can move on to the defense.
I want to talk about this defense.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, Derek,
Yeah.
try to give me even just one reason why
Ugh.
this isn't the best defense in the NFL.
Um, because the defense is not playing in a different city. That's why. I mean, if this was um okay, let's use this example. If this was the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, they'd be talking about it like the Bears, like the historical Bears defenses. And I'm right. I mean, it's that simple. This defense, and let's just get into it. Jim fucking Schwartz just absolutely outmatched Kyle Shanahan at every single step. And there was the talks about Jim Schwartz versus Kyle Shanahan historically has always had his number. I did not think that this team, because this team is different, man. This 49ers team is not anything to overlook. I mean, they still very well could end up in the Super Bowl, right? Everything that's been talked about, whatever.
I still
They're
think they
still that
will.
damn
I
team.
still think they will.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't see a team in the
Oh,
NFC that's better than them or even close to them, to be honest with you. But that's just me. Maybe the
no,
Eagles,
and
but that's the only team.
they just lost to the Jets. I mean, no hate on the Jets, but still, I mean, this 49ers team is really damn good. And guys on this team who have been incredible, right? Christian McCaffrey got hurt, but he had 11 carries, 43 yards. The Browns, for the most part, did a really good job stopping him. George Kittle did jack shit. So, he had that sweatshirt, whatever he was wearing, that said he loves dogs. Well, the dogs fucking hate you because you got shut down today. Um, I'm trying to think who else. Debo Samuel, he got hurt, so I can't really say a whole lot about that. But I mean, just the multitude of weapons that the 49ers have, for the most part, did little to nothing at all. Little to nothing at all. And Brock Purdy to go 12 of 27, 125 yards, one touchdown, one interception, going from a guy who looks like Tom Brady to a guy that looks like a seventh round pick, that shows you how damn good Jim Schwartz is. Because boy, oh boy, just top to bottom. And I want to point this out. I've said it multiple times, over the course of this season on this podcast. The interior of this defensive line needs more recognition and more attention because it is fantastic. It is fantastic. It is well worth the money that it was paid to make it this way, because it is that good. Um, the secondary and the linebackers, I thought, played in tandem today and were incredible. JOK was flying to the ball. A-Walk had himself a game just across the board. I mean, it was just, you could say, and you said it, right? Some of these guys didn't have their best games necessarily, but as a unit, and I'll even throw in special teams. Special teams I thought was pretty good today. Pawork has had some bombs.
And then
Um,
D Hop, which we'll talk about him. We'll
Yeah,
talk about him.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, just top to bottom, this defense played out of its mind. Um, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but just while it's on my brain, I'm going to mention it. Home field advantage is a real thing when you're playing in Cleveland, Ohio, because boy, oh boy, there was a a point where my coworker was like, "Man, that's loud," because I was at work watching the game, unfortunately. And I was like, "Hey, you hear that banging? The chains banging?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "I know who that is." It's Michael Cozy up there at the top of the stadium making as much noise as he can. Um, but yeah, it was just crazy. That home field advantage is nuts. And again, I don't want to get ahead of us here, but the wind is a real damn thing. And Jake Moody coming out of the University of Michigan trying to kick in Cleveland. Hey, buddy, he went 1 for 3 on the day. This was a Cade York performance out of Jake Moody in Cleveland Browns Stadium. And it was amazing to see because normally we're on that side. And at critical moments too, right? Think about it like this. He makes one of those kicks, it's tied. At the very least, it's tied. He makes two of those kicks, we lose. Just two, and he went 1 for 3. So it's a long-winded rant here of telling you that this defense is crazy, historically great, and it only gets better. I mean, it's only getting better. So, Tristan, I know you want to talk about it. This Browns defense, Jim Schwartz, get into it.
Yeah, I mean, let me highlight a couple of individuals here. For starters, Dalvin Tomlinson, this was by far his best game as a Cleveland Brown, and he showed every reason why we paid him every single penny that we did in the offseason. And to think that the D line last year would not have been capable of this. It just would have been impossible. And Miles, as far as like statistically today, like production wise, he didn't really dominate the game. I mean, he got pressure, like for sure. He definitely forced some mistakes out of Brock Purdy. Um, but as far as like who is getting home, who is making the plays, it was all the guys around him, and it it's about damn time we can say like, hey, listen, we've got a team good enough around him where we can win without him having to be Superman, you know? And it was a great feeling to know that that team game planned against Miles successfully, right? Because he didn't get a sack. So they successfully game planned against him, and we still had a defense that clamped him up. Of course, there was that opening drive, which that definitely sucked. But I mean, like Schwartz adjusted, and it was lights out from there. And that for me was the key to this game, was this defense as a whole. I mentioned Dalvin Tomlinson. I want to mention JOK. Of course, you talked about him. JOK had a very underwhelming performance against Baltimore. I would say it was his worst of the year. And he came out and he played lights out. And he arguably was the best player on our defense today. I would say Dalvin Tomlinson was number one, but he was arguably the best. Obo Okoronkwo. He is exactly what we needed out of a depth edge. It seems like whenever he's on the field, he's at minimum generating pressure, if not getting home. He has been great. He's been a great addition by Andrew Berry. Let me point out a couple of other players too while I'm at it. In the secondary, I thought Denzel Ward had a really solid game yet again. I thought outside of one drive, Martin Emerson was good today as well. Greg Newsome, I thought he was good. It wasn't his best performance for sure. There was certainly some left to be desired, right? I think is how it's said. I don't know. I'm honestly, I was screaming so loud after that game. I'm babbling my words. I'm fumbling over them. But so as far as the secondary, I don't know if I mentioned Grant Delpit, but Grant Delpit, not his best game, but I thought he was solid as well. I thought Juan Thornhill had a good game. You can go all around this defense and you can say like the guys that have been absolutely killing it weren't necessarily playing their best games. The best players on our defense necessarily weren't playing their best games, but we had guys that stepped up and had their best games, and we were able to get this win as a unit, and that was huge for me. Yeah, I mean, just Jim Schwartz, man, easily was the best addition we made this offseason. Hands down. Getting Jim Schwartz and investing in him was the best decision that we have made in a long time, I should say. Like, honestly, like he has been revolutionizing this defense, and you've been saying it nonstop on this podcast about how the fans should enjoy this defense and how we as a city should enjoy what we're about to see this year. And even myself, I was scared to go there because I was like, I mean, I know they're going to be pretty good, like at least top 10, but I didn't know how good they were going to be. Single-handedly, this defense won us the game. The 49ers were easily the better team offensively coming into today. Now, of course, we had a couple of things go our way. I think we should talk about officiating. But, we had a few things go our way, including offensive injuries to them. There were certainly some things where the ball bounced our way. However, our offense can't do what they do today if it's not for as good our defense was. And we wouldn't have won today if our special teams didn't capitalize off of the things that our offense and defense were doing for us. So huge win. I mean, yeah. What else do you have to add, Derek? I mean, wow.
I, okay, so for me, I think this we mentioned it. I can't remember when it was exactly, but we said that the 49ers game, forget the rest of the season or the first part of the season, right? The 49ers game was going to be the measuring stick of how good we are. What we learned today is that A, the defense is not even just as good as advertised, I think better than advertised. And I don't know who that clown was on NBC Sports or whoever the fuck talking about, oh, they're pretenders. Bullshit. Kiss my ass, buddy, because this defense is beyond the real deal. And I think I almost feel like it could still get even better because you mentioned it, right? Some guys, Dalvin Tomlinson had his best game. Now, just imagine, we talked about Grant Delpit's having the best year of his career, right? Um, Juan Thornhill coming in being a difference maker. Like, imagine if JOK and Delpit and Emerson and Newsom, right? All these younger guys who are kind of eh, they're part of the core of this defense, but they're on the younger side of it. Imagine if they start playing like they could, right? And they all at the same time start playing as a unit. Wow. I mean, this defense could get even better. And for me, looking at the big picture here, right? The Browns are 3-2. The Browns are 3-2 with wins over the Cincinnati Bengals, now the San Francisco 49ers,
Tennessee Titans.
and help me out, Tennessee Titans, which the Titans are not great, but
Hey, they
nevertheless,
didn't they kick the crap out of the Bengals? Just saying.
they did.
Just saying. Like,
They did.
but yeah, I know what you're saying though. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the Browns so far have one fantastic actually the best win in the NFL. The Browns have the best win in the NFL, beating the 49ers today. Um, a blowout win against the Bengals, a blowout win against the Titans. And you look at it, the Browns, I want to say we're second in the division now, right?
I
Or
think we're
is
still
it
third because Pittsburgh beats us out on
still
tiebreaker.
third?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Pittsburgh still beats us out on tiebreaker. Yeah, but um,
So here's the important thing, Tristan. And this is I think we got very lucky with how this season is starting to shake out because where we're at now, you have the Indianapolis Colts without Anthony Richardson, right? You're facing Gardner Minshew. This defense is going to win that game single handedly. That defense is going to win that game. I have zero doubt. We'll talk about it, but I have no doubt about the Colts game, which kind of makes me nervous. But I think that's a for sure game. Now that we have the ability here to build momentum, and in the next three games, you have the Indianapolis Colts, and then you go on the road in a tougher, much tougher game against the Seattle Seahawks, and then you have the Arizona Cardinals at home. So if you come out and you beat the Colts, you are 4-2, and then you come out, you play the Seattle Seahawks, which they're beatable. They're not an easy team necessarily to face, but they are beatable. And this Browns team absolutely can go on the road to Seattle and win that football game. And then you have the Cardinals at home. After that, so you just look at the next three games, right? You're 3-2 now. You know, hopefully the Browns can be at least 5-3 in the next three games. Then you start getting into the Ravens coming up, the Steelers coming up again. So, how I'm looking at it, Tristan, is based on where we're at today. If you can come out the next three games, build on this, build momentum, Stefanski get comfortable. Hopefully, Deshaun Watson comes back, gets in rhythm, then back into it again within this division. You face the Steelers again, you face the Ravens again. Get it right. This team can really go on a run. That's just I really feel like this team could go on a run here.
yeah, yeah, you're exactly right. Um, for me, you know, the way I look at this season right now is we are one terrible Deshaun Watson fumble away from being 4-1. You know, like this could be a 4-1 football team if it weren't for just that terrible night in Pittsburgh. But hey, you know what? It's Pittsburgh, interdivision rivalry, stuff happens, right? If we can get right against them, at Accushire in Pittsburgh, then it really does a good job of kind of getting rid of that performance. And you're absolutely right. These next 3 games are crucial. Um, you have the opportunity to build on this performance. Um, I'm not going to say that the Indianapolis game is like a lock or anything. We should be favored to win it for sure. Uh, However, this offense is going to have to truly step up. And it's an AFC team. And when it comes to tiebreakers for playoff positions, which hopefully we don't have to be in that position, but the AFC North, it looks tough, man. It looks tough. All 4 teams are good. And
The Ravens are
the
very
Ravens
good.
are very good.
I
Yeah.
mean, we'll talk about it, but they're very good.
Yeah. I mean, the Ravens, they have to stay healthy. That's the most important thing for them. But,
Mhm.
if we can figure it out offensively, we're better than the Ravens, 100%. And that's the biggest thing for me is because I come out of this game, and while I sit here and I say it was a very good performance, this team has the potential to be the best football team in the NFL. However, we have to prove it on offense. We still don't know what we are offensively post Nick Chubb. And it's tough because you don't have your starting quarterback. So, hey, it might just be, we figure out our identity later in the year, and we just have to lean on this defense to get us some wins, right? However, I feel like if we can figure this thing out offensively, and based off what I saw today from Kevin, um, you know, what I loved so much about what Kevin did today offensively was he allowed our playmakers to make plays. He set up very simple and easy RPOs for our quarterback that did really well in the run game. He found a way to stretch out horizontally the 49ers without doing his end arounds to Elijah Moore, which he still did them, but you know,
Yeah.
he had success without doing it, is what I should say. And for me, if we can get Deshaun Watson in here, like that game that he called, if we had Deshaun Watson at quarterback in that game, man, I think we could have put up like minimum like 24, possibly 30 on that team. Because I feel like Kevin called a really good game. And they
Mhm.
stacked the box, like they made it hard for us on the ground, but we still had success. If we have 100% healthy Deshaun Watson in that game, I think we could have really won that game. Um, but we'll see. We'll see when Deshaun comes back. And, you know, I just want us to build off this. That's the most important thing. Because if we come out next week and we lose to the Colts, what's the point? But what I will say is this: both you and I had our records prediction at 3-2 post week 6. So yes,
Really?
we did. Because if I'm
Wow.
remembering correctly, we both had us losing to the 49ers. You had us losing to the
Mhm.
Ravens. I had us losing to the Steelers. We were both right on who we lost to, but
We were just wrong about who we won.
yeah, exactly. So we're through all of the BS, the negativity, and all that stuff, and all the things that have gone against us. We found a way to be where we thought we would be. 3-2 post week 6, going into your easiest stretch of games of the season. I think the expectation needs to be that these next 3 are wins. Because if you can go into, you said it was Pittsburgh after Arizona. I'm pretty certain it is.
I, it's either Pittsburgh or
Yeah,
Baltimore. It's
it's
one of the
it's one of the
two.
two. If you can go into a division game at 6-2, you know, and you've established your identity offensively, and you've got Deshaun Watson healthy, man, that for me would be absolutely huge for us. Absolutely huge.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't think we talked about Dustin Hopkins yet. I want to, because Dustin Hopkins, man, misses the first field goal, and I don't know about you, but I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried. I knew if we got back into field goal position, he was going to write it, you know? And he today won us this football game. He won us the football game. And I personally, before I can confidently say like he's our guy for sure, I got to see
Mhm.
him in some rougher conditions like the snow and stuff. But man, this is as close to saying he's the guy as you could possibly get before that situation.
Yeah.
I mean,
How many games have we had him now? Has it been
since
2,
week one,
3?
since week one, because we cut,
Has it been week 1?
yeah, because we cut Cade York.
I don't I don't know why it feels like it's been. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, no. I'm for sure. Like, I know for a fact he played week one because I
I don't
remember week
remember. That
one being like, well, at least we don't have Cade York out there, you know? So, because,
That's
yeah,
right.
because
Oh, yeah, you're right.
yeah,
Mhm.
because he made kicks against Cincy. So, um,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean,
Oh my
he's,
gosh, yeah.
he's missed two
Jeez.
kicks so far, but I mean, he's been unbelievable. I mean, he's hit from like 55, 50. Today he had two kicks, one from 42 and one from I think
Mhm.
like 53. And in these conditions, how it was today, I mean, you saw San Francisco's kicker lost them the football game because he couldn't deal with the
Yep.
weather in Cleveland. And we got a kicker that did, and
Mhm.
it's just such a breath of fresh air, man. Such it was good. It was just so good. But uh, any other final thoughts about this game before we preview the Colts?
Um, I think it's weird for me. I feel like Kevin Stefanski has Ryan Day syndrome sometimes, where he could be a lot better than he is consistently, but sometimes he just comes out and shows you who he is. That's what this game was for me. As far as the offensive side of the ball, I think as a whole, this was a very um, we're still here message to the league because everybody know. I mean, people might not talk about it, but everybody knows the names that the Browns have are legit players. And I think this was the first time where you saw a lot of the names come out and really be more than just names. They were contributors and at a high level. So, for me, I mean, it still just doesn't feel real. It's still crazy, and I don't quite understand how the hell the Browns came out with PJ Walker starting at quarterback with no Nick Chubb and found a way to win this football game. I still don't understand it, but here we are. We did it, right?
Yeah,
And um, I think it's just build from here. You
yeah,
got the impossible win. Now don't play down to the Colts.
yeah. And you said it exact. We found a way to win. We found a way to get it done with all the injuries and all the things that we had going against us. But I also wanted to, from Pro Football Talk, like, there was something that Pro Football Talk came out with that I think is worth reading. At a time when the Dolphins are flirting on a weekly basis with the record for the most yards gained through a given number of games, the Browns are accomplishing the exact opposite. Per the NFL, the Browns have allowed only 1,002 yards through 5 games. That's the fewest since the 1971 Colts, who allowed 836 yards through
Mm.
5 games. And it's the third fewest allowed in 5 games behind the 71 Colts, the 70 Vikings, sorry, the 71 Colts and the 1970 Vikings, who gave up 945. So that right there just kind of shows you historically, how
Mhm.
good this Browns team has been.